Hello, my name's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. The last video I did was my TBR, was my August wrap up. So I'm going to do my September TBR now. In regards to reading goals, I do want to read at least 15 books because then that's the average of what I've been reading for the last couple of months. And yep, let's get started. So in the wrap up, I did mention that I had started reading The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. Now these are translated, I think they're from Polish, but they are translated, did it say? Translated by Danushka Stock, or at least these versions are. So we have Blood of Elves, Time of Contempt, Baptism of Fire, The Tower of the Swallow, The Lady of the Lake, and Season of Storms. I know there is a bit of confusion over the reading order, but I'm going from the reading order that I got from Goodreads. I've already read The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, which were the bind-ups of the short stories within the Witcher's world. And then we have these, which I believe are the full-length novels. And I've already started on Blood of Elves. I'm about just under halfway, I would say, just over. Yep, and in this world you have, I'm sure everybody's either seen the Netflix adaptation or at least watched, played a bit of The Witcher, the game, so I don't really need to go too much into it. But obviously these are the novels that inspired that series. So we have Geralt, who is a witcher. He's a mutant who was taken from, I think he was taken from his village, or or he was sold to the witchers as a child, and he was then trained and given trained to kill all these monsters. And he was instilled with a sense of a code, and it basically just follows him and Ciri, who is a princess who was a child of surprise, so she plays into this somehow as well. And then we have Dandelion. I do like Dandelion, a little bard who accompanies Geralt on his journeys. And I'm really enjoying this one so far, even if there was a little scene, I don't think it was a spoiler because it was less than 100 pages in, but there's a scene where Ciri is chatting to a female sorceress, not Yennefer, a different one, and it's turned out that Ciri has started her period. You know, she's a young girl, it's the first one, and she lives with men. So you know where this is going. But the men were just like, just get on with it, walk it off kind of thing, which, you know, is what happens now. And it really annoyed me, and I don't know why. But she was told, no, you're a girl, you can't do this when you're having your days, as they call it in the book. And for some reason that really got on my nerves. It's like, she's training to be a witcher, a warrior. What's going to happen if she gets her period in the middle of a job? She's going to have to ask them. She's going to ask the monsters to excuse her because she's indisposed. Yeah. So other than that, I'm quite enjoying these. I'm interested to see how it all comes together, because I do know, because my sister read these first and then lent me her copies. I do know there is a bit of an odd ending, so I am looking forward to that. So we've got those, and then if I do have time, I want to read The Fire Sermon by Francesca Haig. Haven't really heard much about this one on BookTube. I think it was around, when did this come out? Because I remember hearing something about it when it first came out, and then it sort of died down. It came out in 2015, and basically and I thought it sounded really interesting at the time, but didn't find a copy. And then a couple of fast forward a bit, and I found this in a charity shop for £1.10. But basically, in this world you have twins. One twin is perfect, and the other is not. So it says Cass is born a few minutes after her brother Zach. Both infants are perfect, but only one is a blessing. Only one is an alpha. The other child must be cast out, but with no discernible difference other than their genders. Their parents cannot tell which baby is tainted. Perfect twins, so rare they are almost a myth. But sooner or later the Omega will slip up and show its true self. The polluted cannot help themselves. Then its face can be branded. Then it can be sent away. So I'm wondering who's the good twin, who's the bad twin. And I think this might touch on gender roles and obviously good versus evil, but the pressures of society to fit into those. And I'd be interested to see what they count as a taint. How do they know who's alpha, who's alpha, who's omega? We've got that one. Then we have this gorgeous copy of the Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Now this was from Fairy Loot. Yep, from Fairy Loot, and it is signed, I believe. No, this one isn't signed. It was the hardback that came with it that was signed. But there is an author letter at the back. But basically, either this is a very, very pretty arc, or it's an early finished copy. Let me know what you think, because I'm a little bit confused. But it says, are we girls or are we demons? Are we going to die or are we going to survive? Decca lives in fear of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she can become a member of her village. If she bleeds red, she will belong. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the colour of impurity, of a demon. The consequences forced Decca to leave her village with a mysterious woman destined to join an army of girls like her, the Alakai, girls who are near immortals with rare gifts and the only ones able to stop the Empire's greatest threat. But as she journeys to the capital to train for the battle of her life, Decca discovers the great walled city holds many surprises. Nothing and no one are quite what they seem, not even Decca herself. So, yep, and I think if the cover is anything to go by, and from what I've heard on BookTube, this is inspired by African myth and things like that. So, and I do believe it is Own Voices, and it is so pretty. Look at the colours. But yeah, looking forward to reading that one. Then we have The Girl King by Mimi Yu. All hail the Girl King. Your greatest enemy is closer than you think. Princess Lu is destined to become the first female emperor. Her sister Min is resigned to a life in her shadow. When their father declares their male cousin heir instead, his betrayal changes everything. Determined to reclaim her birthright, Lu goes on the run. Her path crosses with Nukai, the last surviving wolf shapeshifter. Ooh, wolves, yay! Forced into an uneasy alliance, they're going to need an army to take back the throne. Back in court, Min discovers her hidden power. It's a forbidden, deadly magic that could allow Min to claim the throne for herself. But there can only be one emperor, and the sisters' greatest enemy could turn out to be each other. Oh, and Samantha Shannon blurbed this one. But this came out in 2019, and yep, is it Own Voices? I think it might be. But yeah, so well, I think this would focus more on Eastern mythology, you know, China, Japan, Asia, rather than the Western side of fantasy, which is what I think a lot more fantasy is based on. But it's going to be an interesting one. I do like stories about sisterhood, and I hope that I do have a feeling that it's not going to end up like this, but I do hope they're able to work out their differences. Then we have a book that is quite popular on BookTube, We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal, and I do apologise if I said that wrong. People lived because she killed. Zafira is the hunter. Forced to disguise herself as a man, she braves the cursed forest to feed her people. People died because he lived. Nasir is the infamous Prince of Death, assassinating those foolish enough to defy his autocratic father, the Sultan. Both are legends in the kingdom of Aria, but neither wants to be. Both are embarking on a quest to return magic to their kingdom, but as their journey unfolds, an ancient evil begins to stir. So I wonder if this is enemies to lovers romance, which I like a bit of romance in my books, but I don't like romance heavy. But I have heard good things about this one, so I'm interested to pick this one up. Then we have a duology, or at least the first two in a series. We have Isles of Storm and Sorrow Viper by Bex Hogan, and then the sequel Venom. These covers are gorgeous, look, shiny. But the sequel, the synopsis for Viper: he will make me a killer or he will have me killed. That is my destiny. 17-year-old Marianne is fated to one day become the Viper, the defender of the 12 Isles. Excuse me. But the reigning Viper stands in her way. Corrupt and merciless, he prowls the seas in his warship, killing with impunity, leaving only pain and suffering in his wake. He's the most dangerous man on the ocean, and he is Marianne's father. She was born to protect the islands, but can she fight for them if it means losing her family, her home, the boy she loves, and perhaps even her life? A brave heroine, an impossible dilemma, an epic new fantasy trilogy set on the high seas, and then obviously we have the sequel. I'm not going to read out the synopsis for this one because I don't want to spoil myself. But, yep. So I think this one might be a story of coming of age, you know, coming into yourself, and I'm sensing a trend here. I'm definitely a fantasy reader, but then for something different, well, slightly different, we have Seven Devils by Elizabeth May and Laura Lamb. Now this was the Illumicrate box. So it says, when loyalty to the Empire is programmed from birth, resistance is futile until now. After Eris faked her death, she thought she had left her old life as Princess Discordia, cool name, heir to the galaxy's most ruthless empire behind. But joining the Noventine Resistance, an organisation opposed to the Empire's voracious expansion, throws her right back into the fray. Resistance fighter pilot Claw has been given a mission: infiltrate an Empire spaceship, ferrying deadly cargo to gain vital intelligence. A task made all the more difficult when she's forced to partner with an old enemy, Princess Discordia herself, Eris. They discover more than they bargained for on the ship, fugitives with first-hand knowledge of the Empire's inner workings. With this information, these women might just bring the Empire to its knees, but the clock is ticking. Eris's brother Damocles, new heir to the throne, plans to disrupt a peace summit with the only remaining free alien people, ensuring the Empire's total domination. Unless this band of unlikely rebels stops him, millions will die. So, I think this one might be enemies to lovers again, maybe sapphic, and I'm hoping it is female-led. I think it might be by what it says about fugitives being with first-hand knowledge, and then the next sentence saying these women. So, yep, I'm not sure if this. It says she's 17. Oh no. So I'm not sure if this is adult or YA, but it's so pretty and it has the sprayed edges. And then we have, so that was sci-fi, so I am trying to branch out. And then we have two contemporary. I think one is YA and the other is adult. So I'll do the YA one first, and it is My Life After Now, Jessica Verdi. So it says, what now? Lucy just had the worst week ever, seriously, mega bad, and suddenly it's all too much. She wants out of her house, out of her head, out of her life. She wants to be a whole new Lucy, so she does something the old Lucy would never dream of. And now her life will never be the same. Now, how will she be able to have a boyfriend? What will she tell her friends? How will she face her family? Now her life is completely different. Every moment is a gift, because now she might not have many moments left. So, is this contemporary? What is going on? So yeah, I am definitely thinking it's YA, just from the synopsis. But yeah, it doesn't really give much away. I am intrigued. And then we have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Now, I do know Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts has talked about this one and she liked it. She did a whole video on books where in genres that she hates, and this was on the list for contemporary. So I do trust Jean. So Eleanor Oliphant leads a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal deal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Oliphant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, except sometimes everything. So with this one, I'm thinking I don't think it's a romance as such. I'm hoping it's more of a story of finding yourself, finding joy in those small moments. But yep, we'll have that one a go. Now, I'm not holding myself to an impossible standard. I'd like to get to all these books because I've read 15 last month, and I think I read more the month before I was on BookTube. So 15 seems about right, but I do know that in September, we're in September now, in October, when my uni degree starts up again, I'll not have reading time as such, but that's a problem for next month. So yeah, so if you've read these, if you've read them, and let me know what you think, give this video a thumbs up and click that subscribe button for more content. So that's all for now. Bye.